Okay, okay. We shall start. Evan. We
Yep.
must. Okay. Um. First of all, I would like to introduce myself first. I'm
Yep.
Elizabeth. I'm a student at University of Unggul with a major
Mm,
English Education department. And
mm,
and thank you for your willing to help me for fulfill this project because I'm doing this for fulfill my exam project for cross and multicultural communications course where I supposed
mm.
to interview a foreigner. And then we're going to move to the list of questions. I have permission to open my phone because I put the questions on my phone. Okay, these questions consist of 8 points as you
Okay.
see before.
Cool.
And then,
Cool.
okay, I would like to ask you. I'm a bit nervous, by the way. Okay, can you tell me what is your name? Oh, is there any trouble from your signals? Okay.
Yep.
What is your name? Can you tell us what is your name? Okay.
Yeah, sure. My name is Evan. I am in Adelaide, which is the capital city of South Australia in the great nation of Australia.
Okay. Do you mind if I'm asking for your age and your job?
No, it's no problem at all. I am currently 23 years old and I work as an airline slash ramp agent at Adelaide Airport, loading bags, unloading bags, and cleaning aircraft if the need arises.
Okay. Thank you. And then now we are moving to the first point of question.
Yep.
Uh, I'm a bit paraphrase these questions.
Mhm.
Hope you don't mind if
That's fine.
a bit confused. Okay, if you are inviting to the dinner party and start at 8 p.m., what time do you usually arrive in your culture?
Okay, so if the party's at 8 p.m., I would try to find where that party is being held
Mhm.
so I can leave my house with enough time to get to that party and also cater for traffic, which could be on the road.
Mm.
So if the party's in the city of Adelaide, which is about half an hour's drive from my house, I try to leave here maybe 45 minutes to an hour before to cater for that traffic.
Okay,
So I like to be there when the dinner's good to go.
okay. And what happens if in high school students arrive 15 minutes late in the morning? Are they get punishment?
Um, well, for me, I've left school for about 6 years, so I'm just going to go off of memory. Um, if I was late, usually my parents would try to notify the school. You would tell my teacher that I'm late and they'd tell the reason, which usually that would be fine. But if there was no reason, then the student might miss out on lunchtime, which would be called detention over here, which you just sit down in a classroom and just do nothing pretty much, essentially. But that's really it from memory.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in Indonesia, we mostly get a punishment like we are not allowed to go to our class for maybe 1 until 2 hours courses.
Yeah, that could happen. It's really up to the discretion of the school how far they want to punish it, but it really wasn't, in my case, wasn't more than, sit at miss out on lunchtime or recess.
Mhm.
If it was, an absence without a good reason, but if it was a reason like let's say you slept in, you'll be 15 minutes late, but your parents have notified the school. Usually that would be okay, as long as the school knows from the parents,
Oh,
something like that.
I got it. Okay. How closely does public transport follow schedules in your culture?
That's an interesting one. It also depends on the city. Some places have better systems than others. I'm sure maybe not many people in Indonesia might know Adelaide as a city, but you'd all would know the city of Sydney. That has a really good public transportation system. I've every time I've had to go to Sydney to use it, it's always been on time. And
Mm.
if there's been a delay, they've got measurements in place, such as a replacement bus service if there's a train closure. But in Adelaide, a lot of the transportation is buses, so they're going off on the what the road conditions are like. So if there's traffic, well, then they get held up in traffic. In my area of Adelaide, it can be hit and miss at times, but the last time I've had to use it was more or less on time. That was a while ago though. But usually speaking in Australia, public transportation systems are good. As it just depends if your area is connected enough. Some places have just a bus, however frequent, others have a bus and a train. If you're in Melbourne, you might have a tram as well, but usually it's hit and miss, but it's pretty good.
Okay, got it. And then, how do people feel if trains, bus, or plans are came late? Are they going angry or still understanding the rules?
Um, if 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 there's a lateness there, usually it depends on the person if they have something planned afterwards and how soon after as to how they take it. Putting it into practice, last month when I was in Indonesia, the plane up to Borneo was an hour and a half late, and I had plans straight after I landed, which were obviously being delayed because the plane was late, and I was really worried I was going to miss out on getting that equator certificate.
Mhm.
So I was quite anxious, but other times I've flown from Melbourne to Adelaide, for example, the plane was late. After that, my only plan was to just to come home. So I was fine. It was just a matter of just letting, if I was being picked up, just let whoever know, hey, plane's delayed. Here's my flight details. Check it out, and I'll see you when I get to Adelaide. And usually that's fine. So it depends on the person and what their plans are as to how they handle delay. So it's a case by case thing.
Mm, I do agree. Okay, and then, how do you feel about your friend's lateness?
If there's a good enough reason as to why there's a lateness there, then it shouldn't be much of an issue as long as someone knows where the person is or what's happening. So at least they have an understanding. So usually being late is fine if the if there's mutual understanding as to why person or thing is late, so to speak.
Mm, okay. How do you feel if yourself doing late to came someone or maybe anything?
Um, well, if I'm late, usually I try to be usually I try to keep the person that is waiting on me knowing that I'm late. I'm going to be here at such and such a time.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. I'll let you know when I'm, on my way to see you. So at least someone knows where I am or what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's all just about that keeping that communication open that you'll be late. So you've let someone know, they know and they're fine with it. So it's just a matter of just letting someone know,
Okay.
sort of.
Mm-hmm. And then, what do you do while you are waiting for someone or maybe something?
Well, I usually try to keep my phone nearby. So if someone is late and they want to let me know, they can send me a message and I can quickly respond. I myself at work have to use my phone to see when a plane I'm working on is coming in so I can get every get a team ready to work on that aircraft when it lands so we can watch where it is and to gauge how we can go about it even if it's late As long as we know where it is, then we should be okay.
Okay. Is it common for guests to stay overnight in your culture?
Yes and no. That's really also it's a case by case thing. Um, between between friends and family, yes, it's very commonplace. Like if you go to a city and you have family, it's like, hello, let's just say, hello, cousin, I'm in your city at such and such a time. Your cousin might say, oh yeah, you can spend a night with us if you need a place. But usually it's if the person knows the other person, to so to speak, so that at least they know who they're with.
I know. Okay. If you are invited for a dinner at 7 p.m., what time do you usually leave this party?
Uh, so the party's at 7. Is it when I leave to go to the party or when I leave from it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if the party's at 7, I might try to be there by let's just say 6:30 or 6:45. So I'm early and ready to go. Um, unless circumstances prevent that from happening, I try to be early as possible, so to speak.
Okay. How long does a traditional wedding last in your culture?
Well, one thing should be on the record, Australia has about 26 million people. There's so many different cultures, so many religions. So everyone's different. Each religion's different. But in my religion, there might be a wedding service in the morning that might last an hour. Then there might be an evening party that might last, I don't know, a few hours. But usually in my religion, a service is usually just a day affair. But it's usually up to the two people getting married as to how long they want to have it going on for. But usually, from my experience, it's just a day affair, and even then, that's just for a few hours of that day itself.
Okay. And what time do you usually have breakfast on a weekdays?
Um, well, personally, I don't really have breakfast because usually I just wake up and just get started with the day. Usually, just go straight into work. So
Mm,
I usually eat on break. If I have a morning shift, usually our first break's around about 7:30, 7 o'clock. So I might get something then. That might take like 5 or 10 minutes to get it or make it, and then just eat it on break. But yeah, I don't often have breakfast because I'm just working or doing something else. I just usually wait to eat a bigger meal later on in the day, like lunch or something like that.
okay. And how long do you spend to eat your breakfast?
A breakfast eating might take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on, if I'm on my own eating, I could take 5 minutes doing that. If I'm eating on my own but doing something, it could take however long I need. Um, 20 minutes if someone's talking to me as well. It really depends, but usually only 5 minutes.
And how about the
If that,
lunch? How much you spend for eating your lunch?
um, depending on if unless I'm at a restaurant or something for lunch, if I'm just making something at home, it's usually something the same, like 5 to 10 minutes. If that, depending on what is happening, what I'm doing, where I am. So it's not really that, doesn't take that long. Just
Mm,
lunch might be I don't know, some pasta cooked, or it might just a piece of fruit.
okay. And then how much time do you spend studying each day?
Well, I'm no longer a university student. I graduated a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but on the application on my phone, it's Duolingo. I'm learning a couple of languages, and I'm learning another language on another application. That can be 20 minutes a day. It might only be 5 minutes if I can squeeze it in, depending what my work schedule is like. So 5 to 20 minutes a day, if that. Then there's also throughout my work as well, trying to get trained on stuff as well and learning for that as well. Maybe in let's just say an hour a day all up if I had to add everything.
Mhm. And then, how much time do you spend working each day? In Indonesia, we mostly work at 9 p.m. 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. How about you?
Well, personally, I work shift work at the Adelaide airport, which can start from 4 a.m. and the airport shuts at 11. I don't do full days like that. They're usually morning shifts, then an afternoon turnover. But shifts can be 4 hours, shifts can be 8 hours, can be 12 hours even. But every job, no matter the profession, is different. But yeah, like we say 9 to 5, that is very, very common here in Australia. The shops and the cities, like teachers as well, school teachers, that's as long as the school day is, it's about sort of 9 o'clock to 3:30 in the afternoon. But it depends on the job. My average is about 25 to 35 hours a week, which is enough for me. So,
Okay. Can you rate most people in your culture on a scale from 1 to 5 about their punctual?
whoa, it's another case by case basis. Depends on the person. If I
Oh,
had to make a general assumption, I'd say it's an even divide between those who are early and those who can be late. So about three or something. But personally, I like to try and be early as possible. So I might put myself like a two, but it's really like a 2 to 3, I'd say, at best, which is pretty good.
okay.
If I,
Thank you. And now we're moving to the second point of questions
yep.
about food. What do you eat usually for your breakfast, Evan?
Well, at breakfast, usually what I get for breakfast, if I'm at the airport, I usually buy my breakfast, which at that time of morning, I get a hot chocolate because it can be cold in Adelaide. Well, you guys wouldn't get to feel this in Indonesia, but here in Australia, it's approaching winter and it's pretty cold at the moment. I don't know what the temperature is. My phone says I don't know, it's probably about 10 degrees outside. So hot chocolate to drink to warm you up. Do you know what a croissant is? The French pastry?
Oh, that's
So
nice.
something like that. But Australian icons, we have most Australians love cereal, porridge, which is that oats thing. An iconic Australian food would be wheat bix, which I have right here. A box of wheat bix, which is just some
Oh,
grainy stuff. Usually put that with some milk. You can heat it up. You can put honey on it. You can put fruits with it, which is delicious.
hmm.
You can go simple with just a piece of toast, butter that up, and you put some of the ever so iconic Vegemite on that. If you know what that is, it's like the yeast extract thing that it's got quite a bit of soy sauce in it from what I hear, but it's those are some iconic Australian staples for breakfast. Um, could be just fruit as well, piece of banana, apple. But yeah, so usually my breakfast isn't the same every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, is body weight related to ideas of beauty and attractiveness, or maybe there's any beauty standard in Australia?
Beauty standards. That's an interesting one. I don't really know of any such beauty standards that, you'd see it and think
Mhm.
Australia right there. But I reckon there would body weight would play a role. Like you want a person to look nice and presentable. So but I don't know. It probably does play a part in sexuality and attractiveness for sure. But that's all again a case by case basis as well. It depends on the person.
Okay. Is organic food important in your culture?
Organic food, I would say yes, but the thing with organic food would be it's highly regarded, but it can also be highly costly as well. So yeah, you'd be paying more for that sort of thing. So most people might try to opt for a bit more of an unhealthy alternate to organically grown stuff. But I would say yes, it is held in quite a high regard here in Australia, organic food.
Hmm. Okay. How do people feel about different diets like vegetarian or vegan?
Well, here in Australia, it's a very, very, I would say, politically correct country. So those special kind of diets are more than socially acceptable. A lot of my friends and family are vegans and vegetarians, which is more than fine. But I'd say where people would draw the line is when I would say real passionate people try to push their beliefs and diets onto other people and expect them to respect and adhere to that themselves, which I suppose is where people would start to maybe raise questions. But usually, people being vegans, whatever, that's fine. There should be no issue in Australia with that stuff.
Mhm. Okay. And how do religions or beliefs affect people to eat?
Well, so I'm a Christian. I'm a Seven-day Adventist Christian, and it's in a fundamental belief about diets and staying away from what the scriptures say would be unclean foods. It's like pork and bacon. So you get, you know, people trying to eat with those things in mind. So you'd see people try to avoid bacon and that. But personally, I have it on occasion, just not in excessive amounts. So I would say religion does help shape diets on occasion as well. So yeah.
Are there any special traditions for drinking alcohol in the culture that you are interested in?
Well, this is where Australia kind of shines because if anyone knows anything about Australia, they really love drinking,
Mm.
particularly when it comes to alcohol and beer. I mean, if you look at wine, there's a lot of wine in the world that comes from here. There's the Barossa Valley, McLaren Valley, the Adelaide Hills wine regions. That's just in my area alone, where the products go all around the world. But in terms of special, it's not really a ritual as such, but it's more like a game. It's called Buffalo.
Mm.
So if you have a drink, because I'm right-handed, the right hand is my dominant hand. So in Buffalo, you've got to drink with your left hand, which is your weak hand. But if you're drinking with your right hand and someone sees it, they call out Buffalo, which is when you've got to finish the drink in one go and then immediately get another one with your weak hand. But that's more or less a common game to play at a bar rather than a ritual. Can't think of anything ritual wise that would revolve around drink. It's more or less just having fun at a bar with a group of friends, so to speak.
Mm. I see. In Australia, there is a laws about selling and drinking alcohol.
Yes, there are. So in in certain areas, it might be more strict than others, depending on many different things. I was writing about it earlier to send to you. Um, you may have heard in the news, in the middle of Australia, is this place called Alice Springs. It's got a really bad reputation as apparently a very violent place. I myself has been there about 3 times, and I failed to see that, but stuff still happens there. But there's alcohol is really, really, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but there's a lot of restrictions around that. And I'll send you a link to a video where someone's gone around to investigate and have a look around. And it talks about that in great depth, the measurements they got there, but each place is different. Near my house is supposedly a dry zone where I think alcohol consumption in public is not permitted, but in a restaurant it's fine. But each place it's more lenient or lax. Some places it's more tough. But in my area, it's all right. I think it's all right.
Mm. Mhm.
Mm.
And can you tell me about how people drink alcohol in your country?
Personally, I don't drink. I don't like the taste of alcohol, but a lot of people like to go drinking. So Like if you go down in the city on a night, all the bars and cafes are open, and a lot of people are drinking after work. If someone's got a reason to celebrate, they go to the bar and have a drink. Um, so it's really big in Australian culture. So, but personally, I don't do it.
Okay. And then, are there special traditions or even relate to drinking alcohol in your culture?
Special. I don't think there's many special traditions off the top of my head. Um, any special traditions with drinking, I suppose, will come down to the person and their cultural background. But from Australian standpoint, I don't think there'd be much in the way of traditional drinking. The only one thing that might come to mind would be like church services in like the Catholic Church, Orthodox when it comes to like the Eucharist or the Mass or communion when they do give out wine in very tiny amounts. But I can't really think of in a public setting in the city many special traditions. It's mostly just going to the bar and having a drink, more or less.
Okay. And then, can you describe some typical Australian foods?
Some foods.
Yeah, in Australia.
Okay. I wish I had some on standby, but Australian seafood is very world famous. Um, we call it snag. It's essentially a piece of bread, and you have a sausage, and you just play it diagonally and fold it up like like a taco from
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. So you think of that with a sausage in the middle. They call that a snag. If you look up Australia sausage sizzle, you're guaranteed to find a picture of it. Um, Fairy bread, which is a piece of bread which has got butter on it, and you sprinkle. Some countries they call it hundreds and thousands. Here we call it sprinkles. It's that rainbow colored candy. There's little balls. Sprinkle that on there, and you have a slice of that. Fish and chips is also very popular here as well. And then drinks, we have Milo, which is that malt barley thing you put with milk. Um, Coffees are really popular as well, though we don't really do much with coffee, I don't think, here, in terms of growing it. But yeah, we also really, really enjoy meat. Like I was just having we call it a chicken schnitzel earlier, which is just a big piece of chicken. Um, we even do have our native animals as meat sometimes, like kangaroo, crocodile meat. Like if you go in northern Australia, like Darwin or Cairns, they might have kangaroo, crocodile meat. I've personally not had that stuff, but that's an option. Um, Beef is a really popular thing here as well.
Okay. Is it common in your... Okay, I think that we have to only 10 minutes again. Is that okay
That's
if we end this meeting and then we turn again?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. We finish the last questions before another point. Is
Yep.
it common in your country for people to eat with their hands? Because in Indonesia, we mostly not using any equipment for eating. So we just put our food
Yeah.
in our hands.
Yeah, I experienced that firsthand when I was over there last month. Usually when you have a meal, like you go to a cafe, you get presented with a knife and fork and spoon. If you go to a Chinese restaurant, you get chopsticks as well as the option of knife, fork, and that. But that's usually most cases. But a lot of food we have here is fast food or readily or convenient food like a pie or a sausage roll or pastry like that, which you can eat with which it's better to eat with your hands if you're on the go doing something as well, like a pie, for example. But if you have cutlery available, you'd probably be accustomed to using cutlery because that's also the polite thing to do.
Okay.
Mm.
Uh, I think we have to end this meet first, and then I will give you another links. Is that okay,
Yep,
Evan? Okay.
that's fine with me.
Give me 10 minutes for a while. Sorry, because my Zoom is not premium, so we have to.
No, no, it's all good.
Okay, sorry for
No,
this.
it's all good.
Okay, wait for a
It's
while.
fine.
Wait, I
It's
will
fine.
end this meeting first.
It's all good.